My name is Cameron Mullins, and thank you. I'm so honored to get to be here on the first Sunday of Advent to kind of kick off the Christmas season. I'm really excited. And quick question: Have you seen me talk here before? If you have, just raise your hand real quick. Nice. Okay, great. Okay, cool. That will tell me like what I need to use and not use and reuse, because I preached once here already this year, which is great, and then twice I was like, this is amazing, and then they're like, hey, can you preach again? And I'm like, uh-oh. Because I don't know if you're like, I'm a dad, I got like 5 kids, and so like I have a lot of dad jokes that I make, but you run out of them sometimes. Just if I make the same joke that you've heard before, just laugh, just make me feel good. Again, my name's Cameron Mullins, and today is the Hope Candle, in case you missed it. It's the candle that we remember hope of Jesus, and we get to work with refugees. And so today we're going to try to show how kind of the hope that refugees are looking for is the same hope that we're looking for, and it's the hope that we have to give to other people. So let me pray, and then we'll get started. Father, thank you for loving us. Thank you for sending your son Jesus to be our hope. Thank you that through him we can have life forever, and we can be brave to go and give that hope to other people. It's in the name of your son Jesus and by your Holy Spirit that we pray. Amen. All right, so just in case you're not one of the many hands who just raised, let me just tell you a little bit about myself, but I'm going to talk real fast. Sorry, but again, if you're new or if you've just like forgotten about me, that's okay. But pretty much, one more time. My name is Cameron Mullins. I'm from the area, and by from the area, I mean from the area. I grew up 2 lights down at Golden Creek and Arapahoe. It's right after Meandering Way. Like that was my grow-up home. Went to Prestonwood Elementary, then went to Park Hill Junior High right over here, just a short bike ride, and then went over to Pierce High School after that. When I was 18, 2 very important things happened, life-changing things. One, I met the girl that I would end up dating and then marrying, who would ultimately change the course of my life. And maybe equally important, when I was 18, I became a janitor here at Dallas Bible Church. She didn't think that joke was very funny, but I decided to play it anyway. When I was 18, I became a janitor. It was a sweet gig here. And then I went to UTD after that. And so then I just stayed as a janitor. And after 3 years, I was a really good janitor here. Or more likely, no one else was available for the job. So I became the facilities coordinator, which is really funny to my family because I can't build or do a thing. I was able to call people though very well. So anyway, I was facilities coordinator. My office was right back there. And after about 3 years of doing that, I had started down at DTS getting my master's in theology with a focus on the pastoral track there. And so I was down at DTS, and that's when I'm like, okay, after a year, I was like, all right, I gotta change. I gotta get my career on track. And so then I politely asked and semi-begged, can I please become the associate youth pastor out here in this building? And they said yes, probably because I wasn't referencing earlier, very good at being a facilities coordinator when it came to like, oh, Cameron can fix it. Like nobody ever said that. Anyway, but I can pick up your communion cups like a champ. All right, but that was 18. So then I had gotten my life kind of like on track. Like you guys maybe went to college or in college or thinking about like you kind of have a trajectory that you're hoping to get to, and you got to get into that first job, which for most seminarians is the youth pastor or associate youth pastor role. There are different levels that people start in. And so then they call it a pastoral track, but really the track should be called like associate or head pastor of a middle to upper middle class church. Because like there's a seminary track for that. And that was my plan. But you guys had plans, and what we all know is that plans, they can change, and not when you're expecting it, and not how you expect it. And so then my wife, and if you've seen me before, you've heard me talk about this, but my wife, she started working with refugees. She was a kindergarten teacher, after school, she started helping them because she found out that 16 of her kindergarten students didn't speak English or Spanish, and so what are they? They're refugees. And so she starts helping them after school, and then the parents start coming, saying, hey, Miss Mullins, especially the moms, we need like English also. So she started helping the parents after school in the public school. And then they would bring their little preschoolers. And so then in the summer, she started doing like teaching the preschoolers, getting them ready for kindergarten, but also teaching them Bible stories. At this time, I was in seminary, and I said, hey, this doesn't sound like a very good idea. Half of them are Muslim. These moms are going to get really mad. And they did get really mad. They were mad at Miss Mullins. Why are you not doing this for us also? So then we started renting a house in the area. And this is about, if you go down Arapahoe over to Plano Road and take a right, it's about 15 minutes from this spot. And so why are you not doing this for us too? And so then we started renting a house in the area. And then in the evening, there'd be I'd walk in with my little DTS briefcase, and I would come in, and there would be about 8 women sitting there very nicely, reading, learning English, maybe hearing a Bible story, and it was picturesque. And then I would look over to the left to my dining room, and it would be pure chaos. There would be 20 children over here with 2 of our friends from DBC at that time who are sitting there with them, watching the children so that the parents can have this picturesque moment. Well, and of course, I come in with my briefcase, and I see them, and I say, well, see you later. I got things to do. I have a track, and I'm running on the track. I got maybe, sermons to write, jokes to make, papers to write. Again, I already said right. Anyway, so then in 2009, Caitlin said, hey, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to go start doing this full-time because that number of 8 women had turned to 15, which had turned to 30, and she ran into an issue, which is that all these people want to be teachers in a public school, but no one is wanting to help these people who need a lot of help but do not have the resources, these refugees that are here. So again, I'm like, hey, this doesn't sound like a great idea, because I don't know, 2008, not a strong year for the economy. 2009, we were still coming back, but also like, no, like I have a track. How are you going to be doing that? And she said it'll be fine. And so she quit her job and she started raising support. And about a year later, she had this big event out at these apartments, and all of these women and children and men, like husbands, were there for it. And one of them said, and I see all these people. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, look at all these guys. Caitlin, you really need a guy who can help you do this. Like, I'll be praying for you. Like, I can't wait to see who God's gonna provide. So anyway, and then at that big party, a guy, his name's Malo yelled out, he said, hey, Mr. Mullins, how's your family? And I don't know why, but that's the moment that it hit me, like, oh, I can do this. But notice, it took me 3 years for the ministry, for people who are in need. They are right here. It is in my living room. Like, I am not far away from this. To say, oh, I can help. But I was rubbing up against this problem that many seminarians face, which is that for most of us, we go and get jobs from people who will pay us to offer ministry to them, which is very important, as you heard Brian talk about earlier. And so don't neglect that. But anyway, it just didn't click in my brain that like, oh, we need to go ask other people who have, so that we can go serve people who do not have. Okay, so that's kind of how we get to this moment where now I'm invited back from, way over there on the east side of 75. I'm invited back now my 3rd time in this year to get to kind of tell a message, bring news from the frontier. And so, but we're with refugees every day because 30 went to 100, went to 200, went to 300, to where now currently we serve about 600 to 650 refugees every day in our facility, teaching English classes for moms and dads while providing preschool and childcare for their children, teaching Bible lessons in the middle of that. and every day, and then doing after-school programs, which some of you are involved in, helping to do homework and read with children while also getting to tell them about the good news of Jesus. So that's what we get to do. But sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, if you're so much in your career, like you're like, oh yeah, everybody knows these things, right? It's surprising, but then you're like, oh, like most people don't know like what a portfolio is. And so it still kind of surprises me, or I have to remember that like not everybody knows exactly what a refugee is, because these words are thrown around a lot. And so a refugee is someone who is permanently and legally brought over by our government into the United States. And here's kind of the best picture I can make. Again, I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but it's a good one. And so it's like we're all in Texas. We're all from, I don't know if you're from Texas, but we're in Texas right now. And you clearly know people from Texas. Imagine the rest of the United States says, hey, if you're in Texas or from Texas, we're coming for you. You're going to be arrested. You're going to be beaten. You might even be killed. If you're in Texas, if you have anyone in your family from Texas, you know what? Even if you say y'all all gonna be persecuted. All right. So some people might say, well, not us. We're gonna fight. But a lot of us would say, I don't think we're gonna win that. And so then we would try to say, oh, they're coming for us, so we got to run somewhere for safety. But it's the rest of America. So where are we going to go for safety? And now at this point, we will start the interactive portion of our service. And so where would we run from Texas to get to safety from the rest of America? You're not going to have any help in Oklahoma, because Oklahoma, I'm hearing a lot of Oklahomas over here, still part of America. Still part of America. So where are we going to? Mexico, that's right. You can try to make it to Canada, but that's a lot of America to get through before you get there. Okay, you can try Oklahoma. We'll see how that plays out. Anyway, so we all run into Mexico, and maybe not all of us make it necessarily, but we all run into Mexico, and there, do you think the Mexican government's going to be like, oh, come on in, Texans, everybody, come into our city? Absolutely not. Mexico's going to pick up the phone, and who are they going to call? Who? Not the United States, because that'd be like, hey, we got your Texans. No, they would call the UN, which is the United Nations. And the United Nations would say, hey, we have a lot of Texans here. We need help. And so the UN would say, okay, great. We're going to send money to you, Mexico. Mexico, you need to build places for them to live while they figure things out. And so is Mexico going to build the things in the heart of Mexico City? No. They're going to build them as close as they can to that border between Mexico and Texas. So all of us, fortunately, we made it into Mexico. And hey, by the way, I haven't forgotten that it's Christmas. This actually is a Christmas message, but just give me a moment. Okay, so he's talking about refugees and I don't know, something about a track. Anyway, so we all run, and then we all make it to Mexico, and there we make it to camp, and we sit and we wait. And what are we waiting for? Okay, so help. You might think that's first, but what they're actually waiting for, it's what all of us would wait for, is if you just ran out of, and you had to leave your house and your car and your clothes and your food and the friends you knew and your neighborhoods, what you're waiting for is, when do I get to go home? When do I get to go back? Because that's actually why they're running and running out. It's why any of us would run and run out. If you thought that your children or grandchildren's lives were in danger, is that we would all do this exact same thing. Okay, so in for 99% of refugees, they either will get to go back home, or they will immigrate into their new country and become citizens there. This is what happens to 99%. But so if we were running, 99% of us would either go back into Texas or we would immigrate into the new country. But after enough time, the UN comes in and they say, hey, we are so sorry, Texans. That world you knew, it's gone. Like someone else is living in your house, someone else took your car, your bank accounts, they've disappeared. It's gone. There's nothing to go back to now. So then, at this point now, these refugees are stuck, and, well, Mexico isn't necessarily wanting to keep us there forever. So that's when third countries that have more resources and are stronger, they come in and they say, hey, we're actually going to take some of you. We're going to pick the ones that we want, so we're going to vet you like 20 times. And we're not going to take single people, we're going to take families. We're going to take people, maybe your best and your brightest. We're going to pull them out, and we're going to take them over to our country. So this is what a refugee is, is a third country, permanently resettled legal refugee who is invited by the United States government. And since the 1970s, America has brought in about 120,000 refugees from Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. It's from all over the place. We bring in about 120,000, a year. We bring in 120,000 refugees a year. With some of the first groups being the Vietnamese. So the refugees, they've kind of been through it all. They've had to run out of their country. They found safety when many didn't. They sat and they waited, and then they ultimately kind of like won the lottery. And now they get to go to America. And now they're here. Oh my goodness. They've seen the movies. They're so excited. And so this is when they kind of show up with us at For the Nations. And so I'd like to kind of give you an experience of what we might teach to a refugee during one of our Bible times. And if you were here last time, you saw these little strips of paper. We lovingly call them Bible in Bad English. And this is because it's shorter sentences. And if we had to make everyone open up in a book, it'd be difficult. This is one of my favorite Christmas couplets that I share with refugees. And it's a couplet because refugees transition so much. If we just told them an Old Testament story like the curtain ripped, or the curtain went up and no one could bring it down in the temple, or could they? Like, come back in March and I'll tell you. It's like, no, like we need to put the beginning and the end together to kind of create a full narrative. So during this time, I love sharing Christmas with refugees. Some of them already know about Christmas, some of them do not. And I'm a huge Christmas fan. I have my Christmas socks on right now. You can't see them. I saw you all look down. What does Christmas socks look like? It's like you can't, maybe you'll see them later. Anyway, but also like I'm the one who has the Christmas music going in June and July because like when it's 105 outside, that's when I need a little Christmas, like right that very moment. Like right now the weather's great. So anyway, if you don't mind, I'm going to read you our Bible in Bad English Christmas couplet for refugees. And if you'll do me a favor, because refugees, gosh, they get so hard to follow along. We do a lot of read and repeat. And I know that when a pastor's up here reading, that you're locked in to every word. But just in case you're not, this might help you follow along with us. I'm sure it's not yours, but maybe it's your spouse's. Let's read. All right. Pharaoh. Oh, and then you repeat. So one more time. Pharaoh. Oh, very good, very good. And I'm not judging which side is louder, but like this side is louder. But I'm not judging. So one more time. Pharaoh was very scared of the Israelites. Okay, and you know this story. Okay, so how does Pharaoh feel? Scared. Who is he scared of? The Israelites. And you know why? Because this population was growing. And so Pharaoh got scared that if we go to war against another country, is that these Israelites are going to stab us in the back. We won't be able to win the war. And so he's scared of what might happen. And I'll tell you, I just turned 40 like a couple of weeks ago. Started working with refugees and when I was like 23. But just the older I get, the more I come to believe that when people are scared, they make bad choices. Is that usually the choices we make out of fear aren't good God-honoring choices. I don't know. Maybe that'll change by the time I'm 60, but it's just kind of from the experience. When people are scared, they usually make a bad choice. Well, let's see how Pharaoh does. He said, one more time, he said, kill every Hebrew boy born. Okay, so now did Pharaoh make a good choice or a bad choice? A bad choice. Okay, good. That should have been louder there, but yes, it was a bad choice that he said, okay, to get ahead of this growing population, we're going to cull it. We're going to kill every Hebrew boy born. All right. An Israelite mother had a baby. She hid him in a basket and put him in the river. Pharaoh's daughter found the baby. She named him Moses. He grew up in Pharaoh's house. Who's the he? Oh, one more time. He grew up in Pharaoh's house. Who's the he? Moses. Okay, good. All right, so now we have this one man, Moses, who is kind of two families. Is that he is Hebrew, but he is also in the family of Pharaoh. Like he grows up in his house. Two families, one man. And so one day, Moses saw an Egyptian hit an Israelite. Okay, so who hit the Israelite? Well, I'm not Moses. That's why I hand out the strips. Yeah. Moses didn't hit it. Okay, so who hit the Israelite? The Egyptian. Excellent. Good. All right. So Moses sees an injustice, like something bad being done, is that an Egyptian, a citizen with much power, and he's taking advantage of someone who it shouldn't be. Okay, so he was very angry. So he hit the Egyptian. Okay, good. Now I'm seeing if you're reading along with me. Okay, good. Okay, he doesn't just hit the Egyptian. What does he do? He kills the Egyptian. That's right. You're like, Cameron, this feels really far away from Christmas. I know. Okay, so now, now Moses was scared of Pharaoh. So who's scared now? Moses, good. All right, he ran into another country for a long time. And what do we call someone who runs into another country because they are scared of their government? A refugee, good. So who is the refugee in this story? Moses, excellent. All right, good. So this is one reason I like to share this story because for most of our refugees, no matter where they're from, they've heard of Moses. They haven't all heard of Jesus, but they've all heard of Moses. And so we get to say, hey, Moses, who you know of, we have a story of him being a refugee. And so your situation is not maybe as confusing, or you're not alone in this situation, because it can feel very lonely and alone if you have to pick up and run and you don't know where you're going to land, and it can feel very confusing to say, hey, you're not alone, you got Moses. All right, now at this time, the Israelites cried out to God to save them. Okay, so now this is really kind of where we come back to this idea of, okay, so they're in slavery, but they have, and now I want you to say the word hope. Can you say hope? Good. So when I point to you here, you say hope. Okay, so they have hope. That's right. Their hope is that maybe God will save them from this slavery to the Egyptians. Maybe they'll be able to own land and have power and build wealth. These are good things. That maybe they'll get to have this. But there's a hope coming that's much better than anything they expected. So you'll see here for refugees, we put in a loving line here, which says, many years later. Can you repeat? Many years later. And we do that to show like, hey, this is like a long time later, because they don't know the stories. You do. And so I'm hoping that we can do better than many years later. And so let's connect the Israelites in Egypt over to Jesus. Okay, and so the Israelites are in freedom, but they have hope. One more time. The Israelites are enslaved, and they have hope that one day they'll be free, but something's better that's better than expected. And so then Moses leads them out of Egypt, the Red Sea, and let the people go. And they go out of Egypt. Then their new leader is do you remember his name? Joshua, very good. And Joshua, they've been in the wilderness for a long time, but they have hope. Hope that there might be a land of milk and honey, a land that's good, a land where things will grow, a land where their children can have land, and that they can be at peace, that this land, this promised land will be good. But there's a hope coming that's much better than they expected. Because they go into the land, but guess what? Sin follows right along with them. And so sin is right there in their hearts where they forget about God again and again and again. And so they say, do you remember what they want? Oh, good. We want a king. Can you say, we want a king? That's right, good. And so they say, we want a king because they have hope. Very good. Hope that maybe someone could help and get all these ducks in a row, that could lead them into battle, that could give them both honor and glory, but also that every man would not just be right in his own eyes, right? Like that he could give clarity, that the leader could take them in the right direction. But, of course, then they get a bad king, and his name is Saul. And then they have a good king. His name is David. And David, while his heart is after God's, he still has sin. We all know the stories. Okay, and so then after David, they have a wise king, and his name is Solomon. Solomon's country continues to grow, but then the country breaks. And you remember it breaks, and in the north is called Israel. Very nice. And the south is called Judah. That's right. Okay, but now things are not going according to the plan. The plan was that this country that started is supposed to grow, and get bigger, get bigger. And so this is where we heard this morning in Jeremiah that the people have hope. They have hope that maybe someone will come who will make a nation that will be really strong for a really long time, like hundreds of years or maybe thousands of years, like that a nation that keeps getting stronger and stronger. They have this hope. But there's a hope coming that's better than what they expected. And so then, just to tie it off, so then, do you remember what country becomes strong? It's Assyria, and then and then Persia, and then Greece, and then Rome. None of these countries are strong forever. Every country wants to be strong forever. No country is strong forever. And there in Rome, Caesar, the king of Rome, wants to count all his people. And so Joseph takes the expectant mother Mary and to Bethlehem, the land of his fathers. And there in Bethlehem, you know the story. Let's read this next line. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And Jesus is the, one more time. Jesus is the hope. Good, good. We got a lot of words going back and forth. You guys are doing great. Okay, so Jesus is the hope. He's the hope that they've been waiting for, but he's better than what they expected. Because Jesus, his nation, will have no end. In Jesus, he will be the king who will lead the people in the right way, but he himself will also be righteous. But also, as a good leader, he will give up his life for his people. And he has come to redeem not just a promised land between the Tigris and the Euphrates, but the whole world, the whole universe needs redemption. It's so much bigger. And he's come to make the people free, not just from slavery, but from sin and death, the actual chains that hold us. Jesus came to make us free from that. Is that Jesus is the hope that is better than expected. So now let's keep reading. Now Herod was the king of Israel. Herod heard the people talking. So what's Herod's job? He's king, that's right. But he's not the real king. Because Caesar's the real king. He's like the puppet king. There's things he can't do very easily. Like he can't crucify people easily. Okay, so Herod, one more time. Herod heard the people talking. Okay, they said, the Messiah, God's forever king, is born. He is in Bethlehem. Okay, and who are the people that are talking about this king born in Bethlehem that come to Herod? Do you remember who it is? It's the wise men, that's right. And so when you think of the star and the wise men, when you see those at the nativity scene, this is actually the story of something that's really sad that's about to happen, that the wise men are kind of kicking off. All right, so this made Herod very happy. Scared. Okay, good. Not happy. How does he feel? Scared. And when people are scared, do they make good choices or bad choices? Bad choices. Well, Herod looks over at Herod looks over at Pharaoh's playbook. He said, kill all of the baby boys in Bethlehem. Okay, so what's his idea? kill all the baby boys in Bethlehem. This will stop, because there's one thing kings don't like, and that's other kings. And so this will stop any king that might have been born. So, and again, you know how this story ends, but we'll keep reading it. An angel came to Joseph. The angel said, "Get up and run to Egypt," ironically, "with the child and his mother." So Joseph got up and took the child. And just to make sure we're all on the same page, who's the child? Great, good. Okay, so one more time. And took the child and his mother in the night to Egypt. And I don't know if you've ever had to leave fast somewhere in the night. Maybe you have. Sorry if you have. But we get to see about 600 people a day, and most of them left their countries in the night. And the reason why is because people aren't looking for you. But when you leave in the night, you can't make a loud noise. So you can only take what is available to you, because it's very inconvenient to live at night. You're only leaving at night if you're trying to run away from something quickly. So Joseph gets up in the night and he runs into Egypt. He stayed there until Herod died. Okay, so what do we call someone who is running out of their country because they are scared of their government? Refugee, good. Who are the refugees in this story? Okay, good. Yeah, that's right. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. And here's why I love telling this story to refugees, because this is what Christmas is all about. Christmas is all about God, the Father, loving us, sending his Son Jesus, not to be isolated and distant from us, but coming down into our dirt, into our manger, into our humanity, into our problems. Is that Christmas is about God stepping in and not being far away, which many of these refugees can feel like they are lost in America. And so that's why, like, when you see the wise men in the manger scene, just remember, like, you're seeing a refugee story, because the wise men are the start of the refugee story, and then Jesus being a refugee is the end of the story. So if that's your whole takeaway, that's great. But the thing that happens with refugees, again, I told you, they've seen the movies. They've seen America. They have a picture of it in their head where everything's clean, everything's beautiful. The streets, they're not gold, but they work, you know, and that everyone has money, and everyone is happy, and everyone has everything that we need. They need it. They have all the medical care they need. They have everything. And so then they get here, and they are so excited and pumped and have so much adrenaline for about 3 to 4 weeks. And then the body just can't handle adrenaline much longer after that, because then what they start to realize after about 3 to 4 weeks is, oh, the skills that got me by in my country don't get me by in this country. And the language, gosh, I don't know that language at all. Is that going to be okay? Do other people speak other languages? No one does. Can I get a job? Can I hold a job? How am I supposed to drive if I don't have a driver's license? What if the test is in English? So it's about a 2-year cycle that starts with high excitement and adrenaline and kind of ends in this depression that happens after about 1.5 years. Then there's about kind of another 6 months where they kind of come out and say, okay, this is my new reality. This is what I can do and what I can't. I had expectations, and those have changed, but it takes about 2 years. So at For the Nations, we get a lot of people that show up at our door right there, where they're saying, this is really hard. I don't know what to do. I thought I was going to make it. I don't think I'm going to make it. Because the refugee resettlement program is only funded for 60 to 90 days by the government. After that, they're on their own. So what do I do if I lose my job and I can't pay my house bill? Can I sleep outside? Nope, you'll be arrested if you sleep outside. But in my country, you could. Not in your country. And so so there's all of this fear, but then also when they're safe, it's all of the trauma that happened of everything they lost on the way, and all the loneliness and all the questions, and is it going to be okay for my kids and for my wife, and what will my family, and so all of this stuff starts to hit in. So that's about the time that people come knocking at our door. And it's why we have 600 people in the program and a 100-person wait list to get in, mainly because we need more Americans there helping. And so they come to the door and they say, please, I need, and what do they say? They actually say a more specific word. I need English. Please, if I just had English, if I could just speak this language, I think everything would be easier. And to some degree, they are right, that everything is harder when you don't speak the language. And so we get to step in and we say, hey, look, we got 10 levels of English. We can start you all the way at the beginning to getting your GED. We have it all. You have kids, we can help watch the kids while you're in class. We have it not 1, 2, but we have it 4 days a week. If you miss 10 times, you lose your chair because I got people waiting. But we get to step in and say, we're going to try to help you with that because that's really important. But what you're actually looking for is hope. The hope that you thought America would give you wasn't fulfilling. It can't do it. So let me tell you about the hope that we have in Jesus. Right now, as you're coming to a whole new identity, let me just take a moment and let me tell you about my Jesus. Because that hope that you're looking for in your heart, and the bad situation that you're in, and the bad situation that many of y'all might be in, different situations, is that really the cure for this is a hope that is only found in Jesus, who can beat sin and death and give life forever. Is that this is the hope that we're actually all looking for. Because, you see, refugees are all different. They come from all different continents. They have all different beliefs. They're all different backgrounds. There's not like one refugee newsletter that goes out to all refugees. Like, they don't know each other. And so it's the one thing that binds them all together is hope. And that's why I was so excited when they asked me to talk on the first Advent about hope, because hope is what we are trying to give out all the time. Okay, so this hope candle here, Advent, you may know this 10 times better than I do, but you may have forgotten some of your church history, and that's okay. Advent is a time that we get to join together with the other community of believers, both communities in different denominations and believers from the last 2,000 years. So we kind of connect this way and this way together. And so here at Advent, we remember the first coming, like we celebrate Christmas, but what we're also remembering, let's see, what's your left to right? Yeah, good, okay, good. What we're also remembering is the second coming, is that at the first coming, Jesus fulfilled the hope that people had been waiting for, showing that God is with them, that he is Emmanuel, that he came into their darkness, okay? And so that's the first Advent, and at the second Advent, this is Christ's return, and it's what we're hoping for. And we're waiting here in this, when he comes back to make everything good, to take away all sin, all sadness, all problems, to wipe every tear, to make everything good. So we have the first Advent and the second Advent. And in between, this is where we get to step in as the church. And of course, it is still the Holy Spirit who indwells us, who is doing this work. But right now, for this day, it is your time. And I know it's your time because we're all in here breathing together. So right now, it's your time where you get to be the physical embodiment of hope for other people who desperately, desperately need it. They need so many things. There is so much darkness. And you have a hope. You have a hope that is stronger than death. You have the only hope that people can actually give life forever. You have it. It's like your little light. And what do you do with light? You take it into darkness. But so much of our energy is meant making decisions because we are scared that we try to protect our hope. We try to protect ourselves from the darkness, from the outside, from the influences. But your hope is something stronger than that. Your hope is a light that allows you the ability that nobody else has, because of Christ, to run to the darkness, to give hope to people who are looking for it. So, when you see the wise men and the star, what I want you to remember is the hope. Is that what Jesus does is that he comes down into our problems. It's what Christmas is all about. That he didn't stay far away, but he came into the darkness. And now if we have the light, then we also should be going into the darkness to people that we do not know, to people that do not know it. And is it risky? Kinda. But our hope is so great that we know that no matter the risk, is that Jesus is the one who is going to win. And also the good news, we can't change anyone's hearts. And so the only way that this hope will go out and go inside, it's the only way it came to you, it's the only way it's going out, is by the Holy Spirit who changes hearts. So we love Christmas, we love refugees, and at Christmas we get to remember that Jesus is our hope, and now we get to be. Let's pray. Father, thank you for loving us. Thank you for giving us hope. Hope in our darkness and hope to give other people in their darkness. Help us to be a light to the world in the name of your Son, by your Holy Spirit. Amen.